Hi there, welcome back. This is the third video in a short series around using centrifuges in the community. So as a quick recap, in the first video we covered over the components of a centrifuge, how it works. In the second video we walked through the process of actually using it to spin some blood samples, some serum samples, yellow top and rust-coloured top tubes. So you should be fairly familiar with those processes, and you can repeat those videos if you want to refresh yourself. So today we're going to cover off how we think you can implement using your centrifuge in terms of collecting the blood samples from the patient and then getting them to the laboratory for testing. So if you are doing venipuncture, you will have the centrifuge nearby so that you can use it, and you'll probably have to collect multiple samples from each patient. The normal request may be for purple top, yellow top and a rust top, or just one, or maybe one and some other types of samples that may need to be handed into you, like a swab or a urine. So we'll try and cover over the different scenarios. So the patient presents themselves, and the first thing to note if you're watching this video and using the centrifuge, we've made some changes to the collection process to make things easier. We've actually removed the paper request form. We no longer need that in the laboratory. There have been changes made to the IT system so that all the information is held on the barcode label that you will affix to each sample. So just as always, the information and the quality of those barcode labels is essential. You will also note now there is a slight change in that the barcode label has a bit more information on it telling you which tube you should affix that label to, i.e. the yellow top sample will have a label generated saying please stick me on the yellow top. The purple top will have a label on the barcode saying stick me on the purple top. So please now look carefully at the labels, and as well as making sure you stick them to the right patient, which you will because you are dealing with one patient at a time, that you also stick the right sticker onto the sample. What this does mean though is we've removed the paper request form, which also means now that all the information is on the sample. We no longer need separate pathology bags for each patient, which means you can put all of your samples in one pathology bag. So by implementing this new process, not only are we reducing the amount of rebleeds and the quality of the results that will go back to the patient, we're also drastically reducing the amount of plastic that gets incinerated in terms of those pathology bags and the amount of paper that needs to be shredded confidentially. So thank you for helping with this, and it's a big win not just for the patient but also the environment. So please check the quality of the barcode label. You should check the printer every morning. If you're not happy with the quality that the barcode label printer is generating, please talk to your practice manager and get it serviced or the ribbon replaced. In terms of labels, what they will look like is we expect the barcode label to be placed on the middle of the tube with the name of the patient running down from the top to the bottom of the tube. And if possible, it would be really good if you can leave a little window at the back so we can see how much blood is in each tube. A lot of the processes in the lab use automated equipment and they need to read the barcode. So to get the results back to the patient quickly, really quality of those labels is important, and place it in the middle of the tube because the equipment in the laboratory will either grip the tube from the top, so we don't want it covering the label, or it'll be placed in a puck. So labels that are placed too low will not be read by the equipment. Okay, and make sure the right label on the right tube. Look for the colour. Important change, so please watch out for that. But no more paper request forms, which is good. So patient comes in, you've identified the patient, you've printed your labels and you've collected your tubes. You have collected a yellow top, which will need centrifugation. You have collected a red top, which we said does not need centrifugation. And you have collected a purple top, which does not need centrifugation. So patient leaves, you have labelled your patients. What do you do next? Well, quite simply, you can place purple top in a path bag. You can place the red top in the path bag, and the yellow top can go into one of the brackets on your centrifuge. It's now time to see your next patient. Patient comes in, say hello, you welcome them, see how they are. You print the labels, you feel comfortable, you do the venipuncture, you put the right labels on the right tubes, and this time the patient wants a red top and a yellow top and a red top. No paper request form. The red top doesn't need centrifugation. It will go into the path bag with the previous patient samples because all the labels now contain the information we need and it's unique. The yellow top, which has your label on, will go into your centrifuge. Awaiting centrifugation. You're ready for your next patient. Next patient only needs a full blood count, needs an EDTA only. Identify the patient, print the labels, place your label squarely in the middle of the tube, say goodbye to the patient, and then this sample does not need centrifugation, so it goes in with all the other samples into the pathology bag. And that process you repeat for your whole session or your appointments that you've booked. Now, the other thing that's worth remembering is, when do I use the centrifuge? And please don't forget to use the centrifuge and leave the samples in there, because that would be a problem. And you should report that to the laboratory if it does happen and let us know. Information in the pack. However, you will need to know what time the courier is at. That's going to take those samples to the laboratory and then adjust the time that you centrifuge according to that. So say your courier is expected at 12 o'clock, midday. You would probably use your centrifuge around about 11:30 to ensure that you've got time to run the 10-minute centrifuge cycle, take all the samples out and put them in the bags ready for the couriers. Any samples that come in after that, you can send to the laboratory unspun, and I'll talk you through that. Also, the samples need 30 minutes to clot. So any samples collected after 11 o'clock, you would place ready for us to centrifuge. But everything before 11 o'clock, you would centrifuge. So at 11:30, close the lid on the centrifuge, make sure it's balanced, centrifuge the samples. Once it's completed, take the samples out, nicely spun sample, and place it in with all the other samples, okay? So you basically, everything in this bag is ready to go to the laboratory. Any samples that you haven't had an opportunity to centrifuge because they came in too close to the courier time and wouldn't have time to clot, just place in a separate bag for us so that the laboratory will prioritise those and make sure that they are centrifuged when they arrive in the laboratory. Now, please remember, the reason we have asked you to centrifuge is to reduce the amount of rebleed. So there is an expectation to centrifuge as many samples in the bottom as possible, so to minimise the samples that we need to centrifuge in the laboratory. So just as a recap, you should only have to send 2 bags to the courier to send to the laboratory. One will contain all your centrifuge samples and all your samples that don't require centrifugation. And a second bag, which you may not need at all, should contain any yellow or rust tops that are uncentrifuged and that we will need to centrifuge. And the only reason we should have those is because they were collected close to the courier time and there wasn't time to allow them to clot and be centrifuged. And that really is it. I mean, it seems a simpler process than having the paper request form and having to put them into individual bags. The questions you may have, well, what about urines? Patients will come in with urine samples. That's a bit of a mixture. The simple test, we have removed the paper request form, so there will just be the universal, and you print the label, place it on the universal, place it in a separate pathology bag. All of those samples can go together. If we haven't been able to remove the paper form for some urines, then you'll need to do individual pathology bags for those urines. If a patient comes in with a swab, due to the complexity of the testing there, we haven't been able to remove the paper request form. So each of those requests will need to go with a paper request form in a separate bag. Watch this video a couple of times. I'm sure it will make sense after that. We are doing training sessions where you can ask us any questions or answers and we'll run through it there. Thank you very much.